Chosen one, do not scroll past this. Not now. Not this time. This message will vanish in 35 seconds, and if you miss it, you may never find it again in the same way. This is not just another set of words floating in the chaos of your day. It is a divine signal, coded in the silence between your thoughts, timed perfectly with the ache you've been hiding. And though your mind may not fully grasp it yet, your soul has already recognized it. That flutter in your chest, that sudden pause in your spirit that was not random, that was the alarm heaven placed in you long ago, waiting to go off the moment this message found you. You were named in the unseen realms, not with ink or voice, but with light and purpose. Long before you wondered if you mattered, the answer had already been written. You were never overlooked. You were marked. And right now, the realm that has been watching you, holding you through pain you never spoke of, is reaching through the veil to deliver what must be said before the shift begins. There is no more time to delay. Your name was whispered at the gates of the eternal, and what's about to unfold requires your attention. Not later, not tomorrow, now. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That quiet restlessness, like something is on the edge of happening, but you can't name it. That's because this moment has been approaching for weeks, even months, threading its way through your dreams, your memories, your hidden prayers. It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't emotion. It was divine choreography, and now the timing has aligned. This is the moment your spirit signed up for before your body ever took form. You were chosen for something that cannot be explained in human terms. There is a reason you've never quite fit in, why your emotions run deeper, why silence sometimes speaks louder to you than noise. You carry a light the world doesn't always recognize, but the heavens do. And because of that light, this message was assigned to find you. It was carried across battlefields in the spirit realm, just to land before your eyes in this exact second. So, breathe. Stay. Listen. This isn't entertainment. This isn't motivation. This is a spiritual alert, a scroll being opened in your life. And though you may not understand everything yet, understand this. You were never forgotten. You were never abandoned. And this message is proof. The shift has begun. Heaven is speaking. Don't miss this. If this message stirred your spirit, comment 77 below as a sign you received it. It means divine timing, awakening, and alignment. Let heaven know you're ready. This is not coincidence. It's confirmation. You were meant to see this, and now it begins. You've heard it before, though maybe not with your ears. In the still hours of the night, when the world grew quiet and your mind finally stopped fighting, something began to stir. A whisper not born from thought, but from something far older, deeper. You felt it as a strange flutter beneath your ribs, a chill that brushed across your skin when no wind was near, or a moment of stillness so sudden it made the air feel holy. That was not your imagination. That was the realm above you speaking, gently but persistently, waiting for your heart to open enough to hear what your spirit already knew. For weeks now, heaven has been trying to get through. In the ache behind your laughter, in the silence that felt too loud, in the dream you dismissed but couldn't forget. These were not random. They were soft attempts to awaken the memory buried in your soul, a memory older than this life, a knowing that you were meant for more, that you are more. But the noise of this world, the heaviness of pain, the exhaustion of always holding it together, these things have dulled your ability to hear what was always calling. As C.S. Lewis wrote in Letters to Malcolm, chiefly on prayer, we may ignore, but we can nowhere evade the presence of God. The world is crowded with him. He walks everywhere, incognito. This truth resonates now. The divine is not absent but veiled, whispering through the cracks of your daily life, urging you to recognize the sacred calling that has never left you. Yet someone did hear. Someone who once loved you with a purity no earthly word could describe. Someone who held you when you were too young to remember. Someone who whispered strength over your life, long before you had words for your pain. That soul, now resting beyond the veil, has been pleading, yes, pleading for you to hear this. And their voice echoed in the heavens last night at precisely 3:11 a.m., speaking your name with such force that it reverberated across eternity. They said, please, if they hear anything today, let it be this. That is why this message found you. That is why you couldn't look away. And that is why the timing is not a coincidence. It is a divine appointment, disguised as a fleeting moment. Now stay with this. There is more. Something has been stirring around you, something unseen, yet very real. And what comes next depends entirely on whether you listen not with your ears, but with your heart. You've been tired, haven't you? Not the kind of tired that rest can fix. Not the kind that a vacation or a good night's sleep will ever fully dissolve. This exhaustion runs deeper beneath the skin, into the bones of your spirit. It's the weight of carrying what no one else sees, of walking through fire with a quiet smile so the world won't worry, of holding pieces of yourself together in silence because you didn't want to be a burden. You've smiled, yes, but behind that smile was a soul quietly breaking. C.S. Lewis, in The Problem of Pain, reminds us, God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our consciences, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Your pain, your exhaustion, is not a punishment but a divine signal, a call to awaken to the deeper purpose that your struggles have been preparing you for. There are days when your joy feels fragile, like it might crack if one more thing goes wrong. Nights when you stare at the ceiling, not because you're awake, but because your soul won't stop searching. You've asked yourself questions you were too afraid to speak aloud. Does anyone truly see me? Is something wrong with me? Am I too much or not enough? And yet, you still rise, still show up, still give, still believe if only a little. Let it be known now, heaven has seen what others missed. The divine has watched you keep walking, even when your legs shook under invisible weight. And you were never unseen, not for 1 second. Every tear caught, every breath recorded. Every time you thought no one noticed how much you were hurting, someone did. And not just anyone. The one who marks souls for sacred callings saw it all. Because this is more than survival. This is preparation. The wilderness you've walked through wasn't a punishment, it was refinement. You weren't forgotten. You were being shaped. And the pain that nearly broke you wasn't meaningless. It was proof that you carry something powerful enough to threaten darkness. That's why it tried so hard to silence you. But it didn't win. Because you're still here. And that alone is a victory far greater than you know. Now lean in. Because what's coming next can't land on the version of you that's still trying to prove your worth. It requires the you who knows they're already chosen. There's a reason the atmosphere around you has felt heavier. A reason the peace in your home has been flickering like a candle caught in wind. The sudden arguments that seem to come from nowhere. The confusion that clouds your thoughts at the worst possible moments. The random setbacks, just when you thought you were gaining ground, none of it is coincidence. None of it is just life. You are in a battle, chosen one, a spiritual one. And it began long before you could see it. This war was not started by you, but it surrounds you because of what you carry. Your presence disrupts darkness. Your prayers unsettle strongholds. Your voice, when it remembers who you are, has the power to echo into realms that most will never perceive. And so, resistance came. Not because you were failing, but because you were getting closer. Closer to the shift, closer to the unlocking, closer to walking in what you were born for. The resistance is a response to your rising. But here is the danger. The enemy no longer comes to you in the form of obvious destruction. It comes dressed as distraction, a call from the past, a familiar ache that whispers like comfort, a message that seems innocent but carries the scent of your old chains. This is how delay begins, not through chaos, but through the quiet temptation to return to what God once rescued you from. C.S. Lewis, in the Screwtape Letters, warns, "Indeed, the safest road to hell is the gradual one, the gentle slope, soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without milestones, without signposts." This subtle drift, this temptation to return to familiar patterns, is the enemy's strategy to derail your divine moment. Stay vigilant, for your destiny demands discernment. You prayed for freedom. Don't return to the prison just because the bars look familiar. This season requires wisdom, discernment, stillness. You must not lean on emotion now, you must lean on truth. You've been here before, and you paid dearly. You won't survive it again the same way. This time, you must recognize the storm before it becomes the flood, because what is coming for you is holy, and heaven will not place it in hands that are still clinging to what was never meant to stay. You may not have realized it at the time. It may have seemed small, a glance from a stranger, a dream you dismissed, a quiet moment that lingered longer than it should have. But something happened 3 weeks ago. A moment passed that split the atmosphere around your life. A shift, a divine interruption, subtle but exact. And since that moment, the air around you has not been the same. You felt it, didn't you? Maybe it came as a strange silence that arrived too suddenly. Maybe a heaviness that settled on your chest for no clear reason. Or maybe it was a name, a memory, a question that wouldn't leave. You may have tried to brush it off. You may have told yourself you were overthinking. But heaven was not being vague. That moment wasn't random, it was orchestration. 3 weeks ago, the thread of your destiny was tugged by unseen hands. A conversation in heaven reached your name, and from that moment on, everything began to accelerate. You've noticed it. The intensity, the strange timing, the recurring signs. You weren't imagining it. You were being watched over. You were being summoned. And now, the message that was set in motion then has reached you. This is it. This is the scroll that was released in your name, to arrive exactly here, exactly now, to prepare you, to protect you, to redirect you before what's coming collides with your life. Because there are things unfolding that will not wait for your confusion to settle. Heaven doesn't operate on hesitation. The door that is about to close must close, and the door that is about to open cannot open unless your spirit is ready. That moment 3 weeks ago was your first warning. This message is your second. There will not be a third. Pay close attention now. The next 72 hours have already been marked. A window has opened in the invisible, and what passes through it is not casual, it is confirmation. You are about to witness 3 signs, not symbolic, not vague, tangible, clear, and your awareness will determine how deeply they change you. The first will come as stillness, an unexpected moment when time feels like it's holding its breath. You might be doing something ordinary, walking, working, standing in line, and then suddenly, something will feel different. The world will soften, the air will thicken. Everything around you will dim slightly, as if something is watching. That is not your mind wandering. That is heaven pausing time to speak. When it happens, do not rush past it. Be still, listen. Something holy is trying to touch you. The second will arrive through a person, perhaps someone from your past, perhaps someone new, but they will say something strangely specific. A phrase or detail that echoes in your chest. It will feel like they reached into your soul and pulled out a truth you never spoke aloud. That is not chance. That is delivery. Do not dismiss it. What they say will hold the key to something you've been asking in silence. And the third will come in the form of repetition, a number, a date, a name, a place. You will see it more than once, on a screen, in a dream, on a receipt, in a passing conversation. But it will come with weight. It will feel lit from within, as if reality itself is pointing to it. That's your confirmation. When it appears, pause and acknowledge it. That is the signal that the shift has begun. Heaven speaks through repetition when urgency increases. These 3 signs are not to be taken lightly. They are divine alignments designed to wake your discernment, to sharpen your sight, to activate the part of you that was made for more than surviving. They are a warning. They are a blessing. They are a doorway. But be warned, not everyone will recognize them. You must be present enough to notice what others will call coincidence, because these signs are not for the world. They are for the chosen. They are for you. Within days, perhaps even hours, a person will appear, not randomly, not without purpose. This presence has already been set in motion. Their arrival will seem sudden, unplanned, maybe even confusing. But make no mistake, they are connected to the shift that's unfolding. You will feel it when it happens. The timing will feel too precise, their words too well placed. That is the sign. Their presence is the test. This person may reach out through a message, a phone call, a chance encounter. They may carry memories. They may carry regret. They may even carry the appearance of resolution. But not everyone who returns is meant to stay, and not everything familiar is safe. You must discern the door they represent. When they appear, check your spirit before your emotions. Their arrival will stir something inside you, either deep peace or subtle chaos. And that sensation is not to be dismissed. It is not just a feeling. It is a spiritual reading. Heaven will whisper its counsel into your chest. Trust it. You've ignored this inner voice before, and it cost you. This time, you must be wiser. This time, you must listen before you welcome. Because here is the truth. Not every reconnection is a reconciliation. Some are assignments, some are distractions, and some are traps dressed as closure. This moment is fragile. You are standing between what was and what is coming. One wrong embrace can delay a divine season. One old pattern repeated now can lock you out of a door that was carved for your healing. Do not move from loneliness. Do not respond from fear. Move only by peace. This person's arrival is not the miracle. It is the fork in the road. The way you respond will determine what unfolds next, and heaven is watching. There is something inside you that was sealed long before you understood what it meant to survive. Not a memory, not a thought, but a sacred space. A spiritual box hidden beneath the weight of years, tucked behind all the parts of you that learned how to cope, how to perform, how to pretend. Inside that box is not just pain, it's your essence, the real you, the version untouched by fear, unfiltered by shame, untwisted by the expectations of others. And now, in the silence between moments, in the cracks of your ordinary days, that box is beginning to open. You may already feel it. There have been waves lately, emotions that surface without context, tears that arrive uninvited, an ache you can't explain. You've been sensing a pressure building inside, not painful, but holy. Something is trying to get your attention, not from outside of you, but from within. That's not weakness. That's not regression. That's activation. Your soul is responding to heaven's timing, to a divine unlocking that was always destined to happen when the hour aligned. That hour is now. Inside that spiritual box are dreams you buried in silence, visions you talked yourself out of, pieces of your identity that didn't feel safe to reveal. The world told you to be small. Life taught you to shrink. But heaven never agreed. While you were trying to make yourself palatable to survive, the divine was guarding the parts of you that were too sacred to lose. And now, heaven has issued the call to awaken them, not because you're finally worthy, but because you've finally endured enough to carry them fully. As C.S. Lewis wrote in Mere Christianity, "It may be hard for an egg to turn into a bird. It would be a jolly sight, harder for it to learn to fly while remaining an egg." You are at the moment of breaking free from the shell of your old self, and this unlocking is the painful but necessary step towards soaring into your divine purpose. This isn't about performance. It's not about proving anything. What's opening is deeper than ambition or validation. It's about alignment. It's about restoration. It's about reclaiming who you were before the world told you who to be. And when this unlocking completes, you won't just remember, you'll recognize. You'll feel that strange, trembling clarity, as if your soul is finally standing up after years of kneeling. And in that moment, everything changes. You'll no longer be able to tolerate what drains you. You'll lose the ability to pretend. You'll speak from a place deeper than opinion. You'll walk like someone who knows the ground beneath them was made just for their steps. What's being awakened is your spiritual inheritance, the call on your life, the purpose no one else can fulfill. It is sacred, and it is real, and it was never lost, only hidden, until now. Heaven is no longer waiting, and neither should you. There's a quiet question that's lingered in your spirit longer than you've admitted. You've buried it beneath busyness, under logic and responsibility, but it returns when the world grows still. Why did they leave? Why didn't they stay? The people you once held closest, the ones you would have done anything for, are gone. Some faded slowly, some vanished overnight, some broke you while pretending to love you. And even though you've learned how to live without them, even though you've found ways to function around the absence, the ache still pulses in the background. You wonder if something in you pushed them away. You wonder if you were too sensitive, too intense, too difficult to keep. But the The one your soul has waited so long to hear is this: their departure was not your fault. Their absence is not a reflection of your value. The separation was protection, not from punishment, but from delay, not from judgment, but from spiritual misalignment. What you didn't see, heaven did. The manipulation behind the smiles, the control beneath the compliments, the way your light dimmed slowly over time so they could shine comfortably beside you. And though you cried when they left, heaven exhaled with relief, because you were being pulled from a path that would have wounded your calling and exhausted your spirit. You were never meant to carry people who only loved the masked version of you. You were never meant to be loyal to patterns that kept you small. Some people came into your life not to love you, but to test your discernment. And when the time came for elevation, they couldn't go where your soul was heading. That's why the connection broke. That's why the door shut, no matter how hard you knocked. Not because you weren't enough, but because they weren't chosen to stay. You're lighter now, even if it still stings. You've lost pieces, yes, but in return, you've gained clarity. And the space left behind is not emptiness. It is sacred ground being cleared for alignment. Don't call it loneliness. Call it preparation. Because the ones coming next won't require you to shrink. They won't fear your depth. They won't be confused by your calling. They'll recognize it. They'll cherish it. And more than anything, they'll carry light of their own. You'll no longer have to carry it alone. This is not the end of your story with love or connection. It's the end of self-abandonment disguised as loyalty. It's the end of shrinking to keep others near. You are no longer in the season of explaining your worth. You are in the season of embodying it. There's a part of you that's been waiting to come home, not to a place, but to yourself. The true self. The one that existed before the heartbreak, before the silence, before the long years of wearing masks, just to survive in a world that rarely made space for your sensitivity, your vision, your truth. But the door back to that self doesn't open through striving or achievement. It opens through forgiveness. Not just the forgiveness you've tried to extend to others, but the kind you've withheld from yourself. That quiet, hidden shame you've carried for staying too long. The guilt you swallowed for not knowing better. The pressure you've placed on your own soul for being so tender in a world that demanded hardness. You've blamed yourself for how long you tolerated things that drained you, for the times you silenced your intuition, for all the moments you betrayed your own needs just to keep peace. And though you've told yourself you've moved on, the burden of it has followed you like a shadow, whispering that maybe you deserved the pain, that maybe you were too naive to be safe in this world. But hear this now, clearly and fully. You did the best you could with what you knew. You survived things that should have broken you. You carried wounds that weren't yours to begin with. You kept showing up even when your heart was shattered in places no one could see. That is not weakness. That is sacred endurance. And now the moment has come to lay the shame down, not because it never mattered, but because it has already served its purpose. It showed you your limits. It opened your compassion. But it cannot follow you into the new season. It cannot walk through the next door. Forgiveness is not pretending it didn't hurt. Forgiveness is saying, even though it hurt, I will no longer carry this into every room I enter. Forgiveness is an act of power, not permission. It is your soul saying, I am not what happened to me. I am who I became in spite of it. And when you release that weight, when you finally say, I forgive myself for all I didn't know, all I couldn't do, all I lost in the process of surviving, something will shift. Not just around you, but within you. This is the beginning of your return. Not to who you were, but to who you truly are. Something in your life is shifting even now, even in this very moment. Not slowly, not subtly, but decisively. A page is turning, and this time, the next chapter will not be written by your fears, your past, or the people who didn't know how to hold your heart. This chapter is being authored by alignment, by heaven, by the version of you that is finally ready to live without asking permission from pain. No more repeating old cycles that made you feel safe while slowly draining your soul. No more negotiating your worth in rooms not built to hold your light. This new chapter won't begin with a bang. It won't be loud. It will arrive like peace, like stillness, like clarity so sharp it slices through your confusion and reveals a path that was hidden under your striving all along. You won't have to force anything. You won't have to chase, perform, beg, or convince, because what's coming will be drawn to the real you, the you who forgave, who released, who stood back up when it made no sense to rise again. This time, the blessings will not require you to break yourself to receive them. The love will not ask you to shrink. The opportunities will not come laced with spiritual compromise. What's ahead carries the scent of divine timing, and when it arrives, you'll know not because it looks like your old dreams, but because it will feel like home. Some will be surprised by how quickly things shift. They'll wonder how it all turned around. They'll ask how you rose from what looked like ruin. But you'll know. It began the moment you stopped waiting for the past to give you permission to move forward. It began the moment you said yes to healing, yes to forgiveness, yes to becoming on your own terms, in your own timing, under the covering of something far greater than human approval. This new chapter has already begun, and it does not apologize for how brightly it will shine. There is a moment approaching, quiet, brief, but life-altering. Within the next 9 days, a window will open. It won't look dramatic. It won't demand your attention with thunder or fire. In fact, if you're distracted, you might miss it entirely. But to the soul that is awake, it will feel unmistakable. A nudge in your spirit, a pull in your chest, a whisper that doesn't come from your mind but from somewhere deeper. That is the moment. That is the door. This window will come disguised as something small, an opportunity you weren't expecting, a conversation that seems ordinary until it shifts something in you, a strange moment of timing that lines up too perfectly to ignore. You'll feel a pause in time, like the world is waiting to see what you'll do next. That's because it is. What happens in that moment, your decision, your response, your willingness to say yes, will determine what opens next in your life. It will not be forced. It cannot be fabricated. It must be recognized by your spirit. This isn't just about chance. This is alignment in motion. Heaven has already cleared the way. The opening has already been scheduled, but it will not wait for your fear to resolve. It will not delay for your doubts to catch up. You will have to trust the feeling in your chest more than the facts in front of you. You will have to act before you feel ready. Because if you wait for perfect conditions, the window will close, and it will not reopen the same way. This is why your soul has been restless, why your peace has felt interrupted, why you've been pulled away from distractions, separated from noise, and brought into solitude. It wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Because something holy is being released into your life, and only the present, healed version of you can receive it without distorting it. So watch, listen, stay awake. The window is coming, and when it opens, don't hesitate. Step through. Even now, as you sit with these words, something is shifting around you. You may not feel it in your skin, but your spirit does. There is presence here, quiet, holy, constant. You have not walked through your trials alone. You have not cried your tears unseen. Every sigh you released into the dark, every breath you took when you didn't want to stay another day, was witnessed. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has gone unnoticed. You are being watched over more closely than you've ever imagined. There are battles you never saw that were fought for you, accidents that didn't happen, relationships that didn't continue, doors that didn't open no matter how hard you pushed. You called it failure. Heaven called it mercy. You called it rejection. Heaven called it redirection. You called it silence. But it was protection. You didn't survive by chance, you were preserved by design. And the forces that preserved you still surround you now. You are covered, fully, constantly. Even on the days you feel abandoned, even when your prayers go unanswered, even when your faith flickers into near silence, you are still held. And the proof is this: you're still here, still breathing, still rising, still reading these words. That's not a coincidence. That's not random. That's alignment at work. There are angels assigned to your life who have never left your side. They were there the night you almost gave up. They were there when you were curled up in grief no one else could see. They were there when you pretended to be okay, but prayed in secret that anyone would notice the pain. They noticed, and heaven responded. That's why this message arrived. That's why you couldn't scroll past it. Because now is the moment you were meant to remember. You were never unguarded, not even once. There is a covering over your life now stronger than anything that's ever tried to break you. You are not exposed. You are not forgotten. You are not standing in the open. You are walking with light behind you, beside you, before you. You are surrounded. You've carried the weight of survival for so long that you've forgotten what it feels like to simply exist without urgency, to breathe without bracing, to sit without strategizing. Your nervous system has been trained to expect impact, and your spirit has been living in a constant state of alert, waiting for the next disappointment, the next loss, the next wave of pain you'll have to swallow in silence. But hear this clearly now. You are allowed to rest. You don't have to earn your worth through exhaustion. You don't have to prove you're strong by carrying what breaks you. You don't need to keep holding everything together for everyone else, while secretly crumbling inside. That is not holiness. That is not love. That is not your calling. You have permission to lay it down now, the guilt, the pressure, the unspoken belief that your value is in what you do rather than who you are. Heaven has never asked you to perform, only to be. And in this season, your healing will not come from effort, but from surrender. Let the tears come. Let the exhale deepen. Let the silence speak. You don't have to keep pushing. You don't have to explain your tiredness. You don't have to pretend you're fine when you're unraveling inside. Your rest is not laziness, it's restoration. It's spiritual, it's sacred, and it's overdue. There is a reason the ground beneath you has been pulling you towards stillness. A reason the doors you tried to force have remained shut. A reason why you're being pulled inward, into solitude, into reflection. Not because you're being forgotten, but because you are being rebuilt, quietly, gently, without performance or applause. Let this be the moment you allow your soul to breathe again. You have done enough. You have endured enough. And now it is time to let heaven carry what you no longer need to hold. You are safe to rest. You won't have to chase what's meant for you. You won't have to beg for it, strategize your way into it, or compete to be chosen. What's coming next has already been assigned to your life. It carries your name in realms unseen, whispered in places your feet have not yet walked. And when it arrives, it will feel familiar, not because you've seen it before, but because your soul has already touched it in dreams, in longing, in the moments you didn't know were prayers. The miracle will not come in the form of noise or spectacle. It won't arrive screaming for your attention. It will come softly through timing so perfect it disarms your doubt. Through a message, a person, a shift, an opening. It will carry a quiet authority, and when it enters the room, you'll know. There will be no striving in your body, no fear in your chest, only a deep, anchored peace. That's how you'll recognize it, not by what it looks like, but by how your spirit responds. You may be tempted to question whether you deserve it. After all the loss, all the false starts, all the days when you barely made it, a part of you might wonder if this kind of goodness could really be yours. But let this truth settle into your bones. This miracle isn't showing up because you earned it. It's showing up because you survived long enough to receive it. It's not a reward. It's a restoration. You've sown seeds in secret through silent endurance, through faith that kept flickering even when the winds of despair tried to blow it out. You've walked through fires that reshaped you. You've stood at the edge of breaking and chose, somehow, to stay. And heaven kept count. Every unnoticed act of grace, every quiet act of love, every moment you showed up when it would have been easier to disappear. It was never forgotten. And now, what is coming will not ask you to shrink to receive it. It will not require you to bleed to keep it. It will meet you in your healing, not in your pain. And it will speak directly to the deepest part of you, the part that was always meant to rise. The miracle is coming, and it already knows your name. It's easy to believe that restoration must resemble what was taken, that the future must look like a healed version of the past, that the love you prayed for will come back wearing an old face, that the opportunity you missed will return wrapped in familiar patterns. But this is the truth you must hold now. What's coming will not look like what you lost. And that's not a punishment, it's protection, it's mercy. It's evidence that heaven heard the ache beneath your words and chose to give you not a replica of what broke you, but something entirely new, something your soul has never seen before. You see, what was lost may have served its purpose, but it could not carry you further. Some relationships were only meant to introduce you to your depth, not remain. Some seasons were necessary to shape you, but they were never meant to define you. And some doors were closed not because you failed, but because you outgrew the space behind them. There are versions of you that no longer fit where you once felt at home, and that's why it had to end. Not every ending is cruel. Some are sacred. Some are how heaven clears the ground for what is truly meant to last. When the new arrives, it may feel unfamiliar, too still, too easy, too peaceful, and your nervous system might question whether it's real. That's the residue of what you've survived speaking. You've been trained to expect love to hurt, opportunity to exhaust you, and safety to be temporary. But this new season will come without begging, without bargaining, without you shrinking just to be allowed to stay. It will fit because you've changed, because the healed you doesn't have to prove what the broken you once did. This next thing will carry peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you're no longer looking outside yourself for permission to be whole. And so, when it comes, don't look backward. Don't wait for it to mimic what came before. Don't let your mind dismiss it simply because it doesn't stir the same familiar pain. Sometimes blessings come quietly, without apology, and without the need to compete with your memories. This is not a repeat. This is not a rerun. This is your rebirth. It is the promise arriving not in the form you expected, but in the form your soul has always needed. What's ahead does not carry the wounds of your past. It carries the wisdom of your becoming, and it is ready for you just as you are now ready for it. You've come too far to turn around now. Too much has been stripped away, refined, healed, and awakened for you to step backward into something that once broke you. And yet, the temptation will come quietly, deceptively, wrapped in the comfort of the familiar. It might arrive in the form of an old voice, an old cycle, an old desire that once felt like love. But this is the test. Will you choose what once felt safe or what now feels true? The past will try to call you back, not because it belongs in your future, but because it senses it's losing its grip on you. Old patterns will knock gently at the doors of your memory, reminding you of their false warmth, hoping nostalgia will be enough to make you forget the pain. But you are not who you were. The healed version of you cannot survive in the places that were built around your brokenness. You can't return to what you've outgrown and expect it to feel like home. The blessing that's been prepared for you is not waiting behind you, it's ahead. But it can only be received by the version of you that refuses to crawl back into cages you once begged to escape. You asked to be free. You prayed to be whole. You cried out for something real. And now that it's near, you must protect it not just with your hands, but with your choices. Do not mistake loneliness for a reason to return. Do not confuse delay with denial. What's meant for you is never lost, but it is often delayed when you revisit what God